Hello everyone. Welcome to our presentation about dysfluencies and errors. This is my part, so I will be explaining to you dysfluencies and errors. Thank you very much in advance. What is dysfluency? A speech dysfluency, also spelled speech dysfluency, is any of various breaks, irregularities, or non-lexical vocables which occur within the flow of otherwise fluent speech. A speech dysfluency is any disruption in the flow of spoken language that is caused by the speaker. Types of speech dysfluencies include stuttering and hesitations, as well as the fillers people insert to avoid awkward pauses while they find their next words and perhaps ensure there is no opening to allow interruption. And let's have a quick look on a few categories of dysfluencies. So the first category is filler, words or syllables inserted into speech, such as um, uh, like, well, so, and uh. Fillers don't add to the meaning of what is being said, but are very common in human speech. According to some estimates, fillers make up as much as 20% of spoken language. Example sentences. Hey, have you heard about the news story? They're pitching to Julie. Hey, shh, come on. Be sensitive to the fact that other people are not comfortable talking about emotional disturbances. You know, I am I'm fine with that. But other people, and there's an example from Owen Wilson as Dignan in Bottle Rocket. And another category is hesitations. It's less common for a speaker to simply pause than to insert a filler, but people's speech patterns are rarely regular. Modern linguists, led by Leonard Bloomfield in 1933, called these hesitation forms the sounds of stammering, stuttering, throat clearing, stalling, that is interjected when the speaker is groping for words or at a loss for the next thought. Is among the most common of these hesitation forms. It is meaning is not the imperious, you understand, or even the old integrity. Do you get it? Is it is given as and taken to be merely a filler phrase intended to fill a beat in the flow of sound, not unlike like in its new sense of like a filler word. Repeated words, syllables, or sounds. Stuttering is one example of this, which speakers tend to get hung up on the starting sound of a word, repeated over and over, and have difficulty getting past it. Cluttering, repetitions. Every speaker repeats words from time to time, even the most experienced or talented orators. That is why we call a repetition a normal, typical dysfluency. However, too many typical dysfluencies disturbs your communication. In cluttering, repetitions like those of syllables, words, or group words may frequently occur. These are symptoms of synthetic cluttering. The repetitions differ from those in stuttering because they come out in a relaxed manner. Typical for stuttering speakers is that they get stuck in words or sounds, like in apple. Such tense sound repetitions are therefore called stuttering, like dysfluencies. Types of repetitions. Everyone uses repetitions in his speech. Sometimes people use repetitions in their speech deliberately. For example, to stress a certain piece of information, that way they try to make the message more convincing or meaningful to the listener. Let it snow, let it snow is a good example of that. In this case, it makes someone feel even more engaged with the subject. Cluttering speakers do not produce repetitions for the above-mentioned reasons. In fact, they use these repetitions to gain more time. There are different kinds of repetitions in cluttering. People who clutter or stutter may, for example, repeat phrase repetitions, repetition of a group words. Example, who is, who is that man? Single whole word repetitions. This is when you repeat a single word. Example, who, who is that man? Repetition of single sounds. Example, shape. Repetition of syllabus. Example, speaker. Repairs. Speakers may, for example, mispronounce a word and repeat it with the correct pronunciation before moving on. Self-repair and auto-repair. Repairs are variously classified as self-repair, corrections, etc., made by speakers themselves responsible, versus auto-repair, made by their interlocutors, as self-initiated, made by a speaker without querying or prompting, versus initiated, made in response to querying or prompting. And here there are some examples. We don't really move. I mean, we'd like to. Ah, my mom is sort of attached to the house. Attached is, I guess, not the right word. She is pretty much wedged in it. And there is another example. I just don't see why everyone's always picking on Marie Antoinette. I can so relate to her. She worked really hard to look that good, and people just don't appreciate that kind of effort. And I know the peasants were all depressed. I think you mean oppressed. Whatever. They were cranky. And there's an example from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer from 1997. And false starts. Speakers sometimes interrupt their own sentences, beginning a new subject before finishing the original thought. False starts are not as common as repetitions and corrections. They occur most often when a conversation becomes intense, with many speakers speaking at once, or after a speaker is interrupted. They can also occur when a speaker becomes excited and begins to skip from one topic to another. There is no punctuation between the false start and the new start, not after it. The entire false start is marked beginning with the first element of the aborted phrase and ending after the last element of the aborted phrase. Examples. I am trying to figure out. I guess we can talk on the plane. It really is in this. They want to rapidly settle on to get one. And ideally, we would have a full event log where the fact that I don't have an observation doesn't mean nobody has seen them. And I was that the space That was the space issue that I was talking about yesterday. What do you do? Yeah, I mean, the most vulnerable time to hit those guys is when they are in a straight line and stuttering. Just we said before in the cluttering, we are going to give the same examples. There are three distinct variations of stuttering: part word repetition, sound prolongation, and frequent interjections. Part word repetition example. She said we were meeting at 1 o'clock. The speaker has difficulty moving from S in she to the remaining syllables in the word. Sound prolongation example. Where are you going? The speaker has trouble saying the remaining sounds in where and drags out to the sounds of the W. Frequent interjections example. I think he, like, said he'd save us a seat. The speaker produces a series of interjections because he is having difficulty transitioning from the word he to the rest of the sentence. In addition to three types of dysfluencies, those who stutter may also blink rapidly or have lip tremors while they're struggling to communicate. In many cases, speaking in front of a group of speaking on the telephone may make someone's symptoms more severe. And prolongations. As you can see how I started, in the end, it can give you some ideas about prolongations. This may be used to allow the speaker more time to formulate the rest of a sentence, or may be used simply for the effect, as in, and I win. So basically, we can say that, and I'm done. So I am done with my part. Thank you, everyone, for listening to me, and see you next time. Goodbye.